Hello, Camel here, and welcome to my Week 2 post-com for the CBN. This week we are up against Gert and the Old English Ice Cubes. As we can see from his team, he doesn't have any Haze Mons, but there are some things that match up somewhat favorably against Dozagiri, but I still decided to go for it game 1 because we have the Terra Grass, which is good into the Slowbro and the Boot Bonnet, and obviously the other Mons don't touch us that easily, so I just decided to go for it with the Tatsu Cinderace lead, and we will see what their lead is. Yeah, so they lead Sandy Shocks and Slowbro, and at first I'm thinking this is okay, but Sandy Shocks reveal Booster Energy. That got cut out of the recording. However, so I kind of make a hard read here and say they're not going to Earth Power into my Cinderace because I don't really have another play. If I switch out, I can just lose. So I just say, screw it, we ball. I U-turn into Tatsu. And thankfully it works out because they protect the Sandy Shocks, and I am able to get the self-KO Dozo off. So Tatsu jumps into the mouth, you get the +2 Omni Boost. Just waiting. And then Slowbro activates Mirror Herb, so I'm like, aha, that is pretty good prep. However, I am unaware, so Stored Power is only really doing 30% to me, so I'm not too worried about this, and I have the Terra Grass to get KO the Slowbro, because I have the Unaware. So, and of course if I Terra Grass, then Sandy Shocks can't really touch me, so I'm feeling pretty good about this position. But then they switch out the Slowbro, and what? And apparently he did this because he thought I would transform into the Slowbro, but it's just better for me to transform into my Dozo here because I want the speed for things like Salazzle, because I EV'd this Dozo to be faster than everything everything on par with Salazzle, but not counting Booster Energy Shocks. So yeah, I just go for the Terra Blast into the Sandy Shocks here as I switch into Bonnet, and I transform into my Dozo. So here I'm in a super good spot, at least that's what I'm thinking here, because I have two +2 Omni Boost Dozos with no damage on either of them really. But the Salazzle is Sash, so it does take a Wave Crash from my Mew here. First we get Recoil, and I just press into the Bonnet. You see that it is a pretty bulky Bonnet set, so it takes it pretty well, and with Berry it's going to take another. So yeah, and then Salazzle goes for Fake Tears, which I think is kind of interesting. It's a good way to get rid of that boost, but then we see Clear Smog, so I think it probably would have been better to Fake Tears into the other one if you're going for Clear Smog. I guess if you want the Clear Smog damage on this Dozo, then that's fine, I guess, but if your plan is to Heat Wave, then I'm not sure how much that shit really matters. Okay, so we see Terra Fairy probably expecting the body press into that slot just to hang on a bit longer. You take one anyway, but it could help. And you see the Rage Powder. And then Endeavor Sash is pretty interesting. They're still targeting down the Clear Smog Dozo, which is interesting. I probably would have gone for the Mew, but I do have Citrus on the Mew, so I wouldn't have been in Heat Wave range or anything. I don't think I would have been in range of anything except a potential Seed Bomb from the Bonnet, which I still don't know what this thing's set is outside of Rage Powder, Clear Smog stuff. Yeah, so Bonnet goes down to the boosted Wave Crash, and then Salazzle goes for the Heat Wave, which I protect. So that just goes into Mew and does basically no damage. It procs my Citrus Berry. as we see here. So my Mew is pretty healthy, looking clear to take the game here. I mean, the last thing to worry about is the Slowbro, which not only do I have the Terra Grass Dozo to Terra Blast into, but I also have the Cinderace in the back, which can U-turn. And since it's Choice Band with Libero, that's going to do a lot to this Slowbro. So with this chip, I'm like, okay, this is in range, so this should be a pretty clean game here. And worst comes to worst, my Mew could 1v1 this if needed. So Cinderace comes in here, I just lock in U-turn and the Wave Crash into Slowbro. I did not cut this position out because it's pretty short. And U-turn goes into Slowbro and we get the KO, so that is game 1. And now, this week I kind of went for the reverse of week 1. Week 1 I went for Trick Room mode, game 1, and self-KO Dozagiri, game 2. This week we went for the Dozagiri, game 1, and Trick Room, game 2. So, because looking at their team, Bellibolt is pretty strong into them, so I decided to go for that strat. But then I changed my mind and I decided that Yama lead is safer into this because I have Fake Out for Disruption. Because I don't want to risk Mew going down to like a Banded Urshifu or something like that. I mean, my Mew does have like stuff to take on the Urshifu because it is a fast Mew, despite its role as a Trick Room lead in this game, because I need the speed to get transformed off. They go for Salazzle and Landorus this time. Then I have Yama Mew, and they Terra Flying the Landorus, and at this point I'm like, okay, if they Terra Blast into my Yama, that's fine, I just get Trick Room up and then I bring the Bellibolt, so I'm not too upset if Yama goes down here. And they Fake Out into my Yama. I was going to Fake Out into the Lando, so this way they're able to actually get the hit off. And they do in fact Terra Blast, but it goes into the Mew instead. So I'm like, okay, I take this pretty well. I have my Citrus Berry to stay healthy, but most importantly, I get my Trick Room off. So now I have Yama under Trick Room, which is pretty strong against their team. And the goal is to get Bellibolt in, so that's why I switch out. The Yama got burnt by the Flame Orb, which got cut out of the recording. So yeah, Belly comes in, they switch out Salazzle, and they bring in the Brute Bonnet. So yeah, and they just protect the Landorus because Yama could be clicking like Facade into that slot, so obviously they don't want to deal with that. And I just go for the knockoff into the protect. So now that I'm not really sure why they just like switch hard out of the Bonnet here. I think it would have been fine to keep it in. Like they could have, well, I guess they did already Terra, so they don't want to like take the CC into that slot. But they could have like protected or something. I don't remember whether they had protect on that mon, but either way, like the loss of tempo means like I can kind of just start like dealing a ton of damage, because both of my mons are like kind of Trick Room nukes here, so I'm in a like I kind of don't see how I can lose from this position because they don't really have any good answers for the Bellibolt. I mean, obviously Bonnet resists, but with Electromorphosis, I still do good damage to it, and I can kind of just ignore that slot for now, as long as they aren't going for Rage Powder. And I have the Yama to CC, but they do go for the Spore into that slot. So Bellibolt is sleeping for a bit, but again, they don't really have a good way to take it out. So here I just Terra Steel to like end it off because I resist everything that they're going to throw at me. So like, okay, if they take out the Yama, I'm still fine. I could go for the, like, I can bring the Mew back in and then transform into my Bellibolt and then do stuff like that, but like if I just Terra Steel and then kill this Bonnet while I can, then like that'll just speed up the game a lot. So that's why I popped the Terra Steel, and it pays off. They just Psychic move and C-Bomb into me, and I live and KO the Bonnet. And now Trick Room wears off, so I'm like, okay, when Bellibolt wakes up, I just win the game. So I'm going to preserve Differential and switch into Mew. So I go to you this turn. And both of my mons, like Slowbro doesn't really touch them that well. I already know it's like a stored power, like body press type set, so they just go for the body press into the Yama slot, trying to pick up a KO. And next turn, I just go for the Pollen Puff to try to get Chip in case a T-Bolt won't fully take it out. I am max special attack Bellibolt, so probably would have KO'd, but like no harm done by doing the Pollen Puff. And that is game 2. So good game to my opponent. I think I had a pretty good matchup this week. A lot of their offense was with like Urshifu Rapid and Golden Go and stuff, and my Dozo Giri kind of matches up well into that, especially if I have 2 Dozos. So all in all, like it kind of went how I expected. But anyway, I will see you in week 3.